4Kids has a history of fucking up shows that they take from Japan. The voice actors, the censorships, the themes, the food, everything that they take and adapt is just horrible. Censorship in One Piece is kind of an interesting topic. I think it's kind of cool to imagine how badly One Piece could have ended up in North America. Mind you that I still do watch the Japanese dub forever and always, but it's still funny to think about. One Piece is one of the most popular animes in the world. Statistics show that 1 out of every 8 people in Japan has or currently reads One Piece. Obviously, the culture in Japan and the culture in North America are very different, so certain changes had to be made to the show to accommodate for this culture difference. Now, anyone can see that Japanese cartoons and Western cartoons are very different, and it wouldn't exactly be the most normal thing for a Western parent to see their kid watching shit that's borderline softcore cartoon porn. So to avoid the complaints that 4Kids was potentially going to get, they introduced some changes in the form of censorship, either taking out or replacing parts of the anime which they deemed to be inappropriate. This video is going to be going over some of these censorships and how fucking stupid some of them are. If you didn't know, One Piece takes place in the world of pirates. Since this is a world of piracy with the Marines chasing pirates around, it can be assumed that there are adult themes present, such as guns, liquor, smoking, and most importantly, violence. Some of these themes make sense to censor out, right? Like the blood and the tits and shit, but some of the stuff that was censored and replaced makes no sense at all. Now do keep in mind that there are tons of censorships on the 4Kids dub, more than I can count within this somewhat short video, so I'm just going to talk about the big ones, or the main ones, or the ones that stuck with me personally. So without further ado, let's get started with how 4Kids almost ruined One Piece. Well, I guess if we're going in chronological order, let's start with some minor replacements and censorships, which didn't really contribute to the story. What the fuck is this? What are they even censoring in this? Like, 4Kids was like, you know what we should do for no reason? Just close Luffy's mouth. Like, I can't even, like, I'm genuinely trying to think of a reason why anyone would even do this, but honestly, thinking about it is just going to give me an aneurysm, so let's move on. The second instance of dumb censoring takes place in the 3rd or 4th episode, whatever episode that dumbass Helmeppo took Kobe hostage. In the manga, it shows that Helmeppo is holding a gun to Kobe's head, which I guess is kinda normal for a spoiled brat of a marine commander to be doing. In the 4Kids dub, they changed the gun to whatever this is. I mean, what the fuck is that? That shit looks more dangerous than a gun. Like, okay, so it looks like it was replaced with some sword, brain-sucking, gun, hybrid hammer thingy, because I see a trigger on that, and that alone gave me AIDS. They also censored and replaced all of the guns in the show that the Marines had to... What? Are those fucking water guns? Water guns? Are you kidding me? What the fuck is that going to do to a pirate? And perhaps the most notable censorship in One Piece was changing Sanji's cigarettes to fucking lollipops. What? A lollipop? Why a lollipop? Sanji's staple in the One Piece series was arguably his cigarettes. I understand though, because little kids would be like, oh,
look, my favorite character is smoking. I want to be as cool as my favorite character, so I'm gonna go and steal a pack of cigarettes or buy one or something like that. I'm not old enough and go smoke it.
The reason why this doesn't make sense is because if you think about it, most kids go outside and see so many people smoking. Not to mention that so many celebrities and other people that kids look up to also smoke. But honestly, a lollipop? Like, where is this abundant supply of red lollipop Sanji is getting? Like, what the fuck? Is it Halloween every other day in One Piece? Where is this lollipop oasis? Honestly, they should have just removed the lollipop or the cigarette altogether, because the lollipop made him look 10 times less cool. Not to mention, they could have replaced it with something cooler, like a toothpick, or literally anything else less lame. Also, who the hell holds a lollipop like that? The worst part of this is that Sanji's voice actor for 4Kids was arguably the worst voice actor I've ever heard in my entire life.
Well, I'm not positive, but I think it's the backstroke. Of course, the butterfly would be a more fitting style, don't you think?
This dude sounds like a Brooklyn mobster from the 20s with a cold and a lisp. When I first heard this voice actor, I actually genuinely got angry because, number one, Sanji is one of my favorite characters in any anime altogether, and number two, to hear such an ugly voice on him almost made me cut my own ears off. They also censored Crocodile and Smoker smoking. They changed Smoker's name to Captain Chaser, but there was somehow still smoke coming out of his mouth. They also changed all instances of alcohol to either juice or water, which is just like honestly lame. I mean, like, we're talking pirates here. When you think of a pirate, the stereotypical image that pops up in your mind is just like this unclean man. He has a hook for a hand, he has a wooden leg, he's smoking with a fucking parrot on his shoulder with a big ass barrel of ale. Now remove all of that, which 4Kids did, and all you have is a fucking dirty man. I mean, it's not even about pirates anymore, it's just smelly people causing havoc with weapons that either don't make sense or aren't dangerous. They also removed cleavage off the show, which again makes sense but makes the show a little less bearable, at least at the beginning of it, which 4Kids dubbed. They also did take away a lot of the little blood and gore that One Piece had, which again makes sense considering that it was aired for children, but this meant that Zoro's swords didn't cut people, which is kind of redundant in and of itself. I mean, if this was the case, Zoro should have just used his hands or whatever the shit Helmeppo was using if he wasn't allowed to cut people open. And again, this meant that Luffy didn't use his blood to beat Crocodile, but his sweat? I mean, wow, you know, blood sounded a lot cooler. Sweat just sounds stupid and kinda gross. Another instance of this absence of blood not making sense was when Luffy punched Don Krieg's spike shield. His hand clearly punched a spike and there was no blood. Like, what? And when Don Krieg was supposedly shooting out these bullet spike things, in the dub they replaced it with like these toilet plunger like things. I mean, how is that supposed to do any damage? Other than these kind of weapons that were replaced, all of the tattoos were removed off of characters because of the stigma behind tattoos. The term Marine was completely changed to the term Navy. The theme song and the OST were replaced with synthetic North American produced garbage because apparently it would appeal more to the North American kids and because it was cheaper. They even changed various names. For example, they changed Portgas D. Ace's name to Portgas D. Trace. They replaced Captain Smoker's name with Captain Chaser, and they used Zolo instead of Zoro, in which Zoro sounds infinitely more cooler. Now, do keep in mind that these are just minor things that 4Shits replaced or censored. The big dogs are even worse. In total, 4Kids created 104 very shitty episodes based on the first 143 Japanese episodes of One Piece. This means they cut 20 entire episodes and the equivalent of 39 episodes of material altogether. Now, why are there 20 episodes missing, you ask? Well, because 4Kids decided that some scenes just needed to be toned down no matter how essential they were to the series. Queena's death was basically written out of the story, creating a plot hole for why Zoro wanted to be the world's greatest swordsman. Belmare's death was written out, claiming she was put in jail, which just creates a ton of problems on its own. But perhaps the worst of the 4Kids dub was the removal of entire arcs. That's right. Not just fucking little edits and replacements and censorships, removal of entire arcs. Now, anyone can see why that's such a serious thing. For one, it's complete disrespect to the mangaka whose life work is One Piece. Second of all, it would create massive plot holes in the series later to come. There were two main arcs that were removed, with one mini arc and one filler that wasn't that important to be quite honest, but the two main arcs that were removed include Reverse Mountain and Little Garden. Now, anyone who's a One Piece fan or even watches One Piece casually knows that these two arcs were so important. Reverse Mountain was important because it introduces three main new things to the audience. It introduces Crocus, in which the crew would learn later on that he was affiliated with the Roger Pirates. Number 2, it introduces Laboon, which would be crucial once Brook was introduced. And number 3, it introduced the system and the mechanics of the log post. With Laboon being replaced with a fucking iceberg, all three of these very important elements to the story were essentially erased or were simply worked around. 4Kids also removed the Little Garden arc, which was presumably to introduce Chopper earlier on in the series. But because this arc was removed, it left many plot holes. For example, there was no reason or no explanation of Mr. 3's appearance in Alabasta, as well as no reason for Crocodile to kill him. This also means that Luffy would have never met Mr. 3, leaving a huge plot hole for the Impel Down and Marineford arc to come, in which Mr. 3 plays a huge role. By cutting out the Little Garden arc, Dory and Broggy, as well as the introduction of Elbaf, wouldn't have been brought to life. leading to plot holes during the NES lobby arc with Oimo and Kashi, as well as what recently happened in the manga. Also, Elbaf was crucial to strengthening Usopp's dreams of being a strong warrior on the sea. Another thing, during this arc, Nami was supposed to have gotten bitten by something giving her this very serious illness, but instead, because 4Kids removed Little Garden, they called the illness she had the Grand Line Fever. But this was quickly contradicted when they met Dr. Kureha on Drum Island, who asked her if she had been walking on a prehistoric island. A few other minor censorships include renaming Whiskey Peak to Misty Peak because of the obvious alcohol reference, changing various religious references such as Mihawk's cross dagger, as well as changing the skin tones of some characters. But can you imagine how One Piece would have turned out if 4Kids had continued to dub it? There would have been a ton of plot holes, all of the values and the themes of the show would be essentially eliminated or downplayed, and the overall quality of the series would be an absolute shit show. One Piece aired on Cartoon Network during Saturday mornings, times when kids between the ages of 9 and 14 would watch TV. This was odd because One Piece arguably has a bigger fan base in older teens and young adults. The worst part of this is that some claim that One Piece tarnished the reputation of 4Kids, when I strongly believed it was the other way around. 4Kids actually tarnished the reputation of One Piece with the dub they did. So much of the story is lost within the 4Kids dub. And the translation is iffy and sounds really weird when it's not in Japanese in my opinion. The voice acting was very poor and emotionless, which is a necessity for such a thematic and deep series. The music also was removed, which in itself had so much meaning and emotion. And who can forget Sanji's voice actor, who was just another problem of its own. On December 6, 2006, 4Kids dropped the dub for One Piece right before the Skypiea arc, which is probably the best thing they've ever done since their inception, and Funimation remade the entire series without skipping any arcs and with only very minor censorships, and thank God for that. Had 4Kids continued with their One Piece dub, well, it would have been so bad for One Piece's reputation in North America. I mean, don't get me wrong, I absolutely hate the English dub for any anime, but I have to give it to Funimation because they did such a better job than 4Kids. So yeah, that's basically how 4Kids almost ruined One Piece. Well, I guess if there's a moral in this video, it's basically fuck you 4Kids and please never come back. Anyway guys, that's pretty much it for this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like and leave any feedback in the comments below. Until next time, see you guys later.